Hi, and thanks for tuning in. I wanted to remind you of our Road to 1,000 subscribers giveaway that we have going on our YouTube channel. If you subscribe and have a public profile, you'll be entered to win a free RX Smart Gear original jump rope. You'll get to pick the pattern of the handles, the color and weight of the cable, and you'll be getting one of the best-selling, best-performing jump ropes out there. Every time we hit a new century mark with the number of subscribers to our channel, we'll randomly select a new winner. And our friend Dave Newman is going to throw in a little something extra for each winner. So a special thanks to our sponsor, RX Smart Gear, to Dave Newman for being such a great partner, and to you for being a loyal listener. Good luck, and I hope you are our next winner.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. I wanted to talk to you about our new sponsor, Element 26. They are an innovative company producing lots of products around the CrossFit, strongman, powerlifting space. They have weightlifting belts, they have knee sleeves, they have thumb tape. They have these cool little straps that go around the bars when you're trying to attach a bar to the rig and maybe using it for low bar work, like pull-ups for little kids, or some modifications for like bar muscle ups when you're trying to teach someone to do them. And you know how you wrap those rubber bands around the rig and the J hook to kind of keep everything straight? Well, they've made straps for that. And they're straps kind of like the straps you use for rings. They have a really secure system on it, and you can wrap around the bar and keep that nice and secure. I love their innovation. Their product development team is top notch, and they're just coming up with really different ideas for our space. So check them out at element26.co. That's element26.co. And tell them Kat sent you.
All right. Well, welcome to the Clydesdale Fitness and Friends. My name is Scott Schweitzer. I'm your host. I'm the Clydesdale. We love to do fitness, and these are my friends. I have my co-host Charlie with me, and our new friend, Colette Casey. And am I saying that right? Is it Colette?
So you'll laugh. My husband has always called me Colette, and it wasn't until my brother told him, that's not how you say your name. I'm just used to people pronouncing it wrong. So it's Colette, but you can pronounce it however you feel.
Okay. All right. Well, it's so nice to meet you.
Nice to be here, guys.
Colette is one of the coaches with Underdogs Athletics, and we want to get to know her a little bit better. So we're going to spend some time with her today. And I want to start with, I did some reading on you, and it appears that you were quite the active athlete when you were younger.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm slowing down the older I get, but yeah. I grew up, I have two brothers. We grew up kind of just being outside. I think more because my mom was, tired of us in the house making so much noise. So we were always, in a tree, riding our bikes, doing that kind of stuff. But I think for me, growing up, we moved around a lot as well. My dad worked on ships. So I feel like I was like, well, you're either going to make friends or you're going to play sports and make friends. So it was kind of one or the other whenever we moved somewhere. So yeah, I grew up enjoying playing a lot of different sports: basketball, soccer, softball, running, all that kind of stuff. And then kind of landed on soccer the older I got.
So your dad worked on ships. So not military, but just
just like built, like, so anywhere that had water where he could dry dock, he would be working on ships. So, just like we lived in New York, we lived in New Jersey, we lived in St. Croix for a little bit, and then we found our way to Florida. So, and then when I was meeting with Justin, he goes, "Oh, you're from Florida too," because he's from Florida. So we were like, "Yep." So we had that in common.
Yeah. So speaking of which, when I met with Justin after Rogue, he was going on about the U. And you went to the rival up north in Tallahassee at Florida State. So what's cool is I actually lived in Tallahassee for 4 years.
Oh, you did? So
I do. Know very, very well. And I actually was a Florida State fan when I got there.
Yeah.
And probably wasn't when I left.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense. But
I think it's like you're there for 4 years and you're good.
Yeah. Well, like they always played Notre Dame, and I hate Notre Dame. So I started rooting for them. And then I got there, and everybody just wanted to pound Florida State into my head when I lived there and like leave my allegiance to Penn State. And so they just, they drove it out of me, but I loved my time in Tallahassee. I had so much fun down there. And you accomplished great things there. 3 Final Fours with the soccer team at Florida State, and captained the team in your senior year.
Yeah. Yeah. That was definitely a very special time. And I look back on it and wish, like, it's always like, those things I think later on in life, you're like, oh, I wish I spent more time doing this or doing that. But just kind of like the student athlete experience, I think that I got there, and the relationships that I made with a lot of the players that I played with. And then especially the second coach that I had there that is still there now, Mark Kerkorian. He was one of the like biggest influences in my life, and somebody that was really a mentor to me. Even now to this day, if I'm like, Mark, I need help, what should I do? He will drop everything to kind of help me. So, and that's like, he's not like that with everybody, but I think we connected, so yeah, the time that I had there was really, really special. And I think like for me, I knew like, I honestly wanted to get out of Florida. I was looking to go up north and to kind of have that experience there. But I think because I played so many sports growing up, no one really knew about me when it came to soccer, because I didn't do like Olympic development programs. I didn't do any of the earlier national team stuff because I was either playing softball or running track and stuff like that. So I kind of varied everything up. So I walked on at Florida State. And then it wasn't until I think my second year when Mark became the head coach there that he put me on scholarship. So I was like, all right, my parents will be happy about that. But yeah, so I had really special time there. So it was awesome. So when I found out that Justin, he didn't even have to tell me, I was like, oh, you're a Miami fan, aren't you?
Yeah. He just has that aura about him.
Just a little bit, not too much.
Yeah. So what are some of your favorite places in Tallahassee, and what years were you there?
Oh my gosh, I haven't been there in forever. I'm the worst alumni, because you know how hard it is to get there. It's not a direct flight.
No.
So for me to fly there with a kid or two kids to bring them there, I have no desire to do that. I went there. When did I graduate? I think it was like 2004 to 2007, 4 or 5, 6, 7. Yeah. So 2004 to 2007. Everything there now is new. So everything that's there now, when I went back one time, I think like 8 years after I graduated, maybe 5 years after I graduated, they had like a whole shopping center downtown, and it became very fancy. And it was not that fancy when I was there, like over by the sweet shop, and like where all the Greek life used to live, everything like that is now very fancy by the football stadium. But yeah, I mean, we lived in the soccer complex. So I didn't see much of Tallahassee besides my apartment and the soccer complex, and occasionally, getting into trouble maybe when I was younger, but that was about it. And then I didn't have time for it the older I got there. Then I realized that the upperclassmen that were doing that weren't doing much. So I kind of had to stay away.
Yeah. I was there from 96 to 2000.
Oh yeah. Okay. So that's when probably Big Daddy's and what was the other place? What was the other? AJ's Sports Bar.
Oh, AJ. Yeah. With the rooftop
AJ's
bar.
was the place we always went to because that was where we could walk to. So
yeah, for us, it was AJ's, and then Bullwinkle's.
Oh yeah. You had to actually be 21 to get there. So
yeah, I was at the time. So,
yeah.
And then Poor Paul's.
Oh, okay. That's funny. All of my friends my guy friends would go there. Yeah. That's so funny.
Just a place to play darts.
Yeah.
Super cheap. And yeah, but anyway, yeah, that. And then there was a restaurant there called Po' Boy's Creole Cafe that my wife and my wife still, and I talk about it, and it's closed.
I know. That's the one. I think whatever year I went back, we drove by to go there to have, a couple drinks and some fried pickles, and it was gone. And we were just like, how did we lived off of fried, like that was your treat to yourself after, your Sunday game. You're like, let's go get fried pickles and have a beer. And you're like, okay.
Yeah. And that dipping sauce was so good.
So
but yeah, yeah, we did that. And so you're there and you do all of that. And then immediately you go into coaching when you leave college.
Yeah. So I kind of knew that was the path that I was going through. When you're in college and you have to declare your major, I wasn't like, nothing was really sticking with me at that time. And I think that coaching is one of those things. It's not like you can do sports administration, but that's usually anyone that did that was either like they were going to go play. It was mostly football boys. They would do professional sports after or try to get drafted. Or it was people that wanted to, go work for like the ACC, and go that route. But there was nothing that was really, geared towards coaching. I graduated with, with a degree in creative writing and writing in general. So that was just more something that I enjoyed to do. I thought, hey, well, I could travel, I could write, and I can coach, So at that point, I kind of just dove into, again, asking Mark, like, hey, what can I do? How can I navigate this? And I had a short stint away from anything that was coaching. I moved to Lake Tahoe for about 6 months with some of my closest guy friends, all wanted to go snowboarding. I had no desire to go snowboarding. I ended up working at Boys and Girls Club out there and somehow teaching kids how to ski, even though I don't even know if I knew how to ski. And that was like the most time I took away from coaching, I think. And in that time I was like, no, I really miss playing and coaching. So I got an opportunity to go play overseas for a little bit. I did a season in Finland playing. And then once I got back to the States, that's kind of when I dove into coaching soccer in any fashion that I could get into. And it was really just saying yes to any opportunity that presented itself to me, whether it was, you're like on the field for 6 hours at a time, just talking, not even knowing what you're saying at that point. But whether it was younger kids or, older age groups, high school club, I kind of just dove into it with that. And then I found myself out in California. And when I moved out to California, I had tried to connect with UC Irvine, which was the college that was in that Southern California area. And I got an opportunity to be a volunteer assistant coach. And then a year or two later, a full-time position opened up. So while I was doing that, I was kind of, doing what every coach does, like have a gazillion jobs just to do one thing that they love. And then you kick yourself like, why am I doing this? Like I'm waking up at 4 a.m., working at 24-hour fitness and then coaching, going to college, being there all day for free, and then going at night to go on the fields for another 4 hours to do it. But I think at that point, it's like, you have to love it. So, and that's coaching in general, much like your craft, like you have to love CrossFit in order to do conversations with people, whether they're good or not,
Right.
Or be a people person. So yeah, I got into coaching that way and kind of just stuck with it. Was working with some at that point, Olympic development, regional team stuff, college stuff. I loved coaching college soccer. And then at that point, I think like I had been coaching for about 4 years and I was really like, do I want to go head coach route? Do I not want to? I went back to school to get my master's degree in coaching and athletic administration, which was like perfect. I'm like, why didn't they have this for my undergrad? Maybe they did. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention, but yeah, so I kind of just secured that route. And then I found CrossFit just for myself. Cause I was like, I really miss, competing myself. I was kind of done playing soccer at that point, just because, I'd play with the girls when we'd have to do, 11v11 scrimmages and stuff like that. But that was my extent of being competitive. And so I found CrossFit from a Groupon, kind of got into it that way, and then became competitive with that. And then got an opportunity to manage and run a gym out in California. And I kind of just was like, you know what, I think it's a good shift for right now. Because at that time, even with the collegiate athletes, I was diving into more strength and conditioning stuff for them and helping them do that more from an injury prevention standpoint. So I made the shift and I loved it and really haven't looked back since. I mean, I do miss coaching college soccer, but I think with kind of how my life went after that, shortly meeting my husband, having kids and doing that, it's really hard to do that full-time college deal. So yeah.
So I want to back up just a little bit and unpack some of these things.
Cool.
So first, when you were doing like the club scene, right, coaching club teams, you bounced around quite a bit, right? I read like Philly, Florida, Southern California.
Yeah.
Was that natural for you because that's how you grew up, or was it just where the opportunities were?
I think it was honestly the opportunities where they went. Like I kind of saw what was in Philadelphia in that like North Jersey area. And it was good, but I kind of branched out on my own and started training teams and clubs. And it was not that's not where I wanted to be, I think necessarily. I enjoyed my time when I was there. And then with a friend, I just moved out to California. And that's when I kind of was just like, this is different, never been to California before. And I ended up living there, I think the longest out of anywhere, even more so than Florida. Like I was in California for 6 years. But yeah, I mean, I kind of just went where the opportunity went. With things and I kind of knew when things needed to be, I guess, changed or shooken up a little bit. And it's kind of like you think about decisions and you're like, if it scares you, it's usually kind of like a good thing, you know, unless it scares, you know, like it's like that thin line of like, is this ridiculous or is this just enough to push me to seek more for myself? So yeah, and you don't know until you get into a situation if you're like, are these the people I want to be around? Did I find people that are, you know, high achievers, that they want to go after, they're going to work hard? I think that's the biggest thing within coaching, is just surrounding yourself with people that are willing to work as hard as you are. So I think it was really like any of the environment that I could find that was like that, that's where I would stay, or at least stay there for a while.
So when you were doing the club scene, was it always your goal to do college coaching at some point, or was it something that popped up as an opportunity and then you learned to love it?
I would say, like, I mean, you think about yourself throughout your journey, and especially with soccer, it's more of like a hybrid. It doesn't need to be one or the other. It could always be both, you know, so you can always coach college soccer. Like I went out for an opportunity, you know, and I applied, but at the time they hired a goalkeeper coach. So that's kind of like always the dilemma with soccer. It's like, if you're a goalkeeper coach, you're like, yes. If you're a female goalkeeper coach, it's like, yes, even more. But I was neither. No one wants me in goal, you know. But so at that time, I was behind somebody that just got hired, and then she was there. I became friends with her. I actually learned a lot from her, even just being a volunteer. Even though at the time I was like, I really wanted a paid position, but kind of just waiting and going through that. You know, maybe an opportunity to meet more people in the community, which actually, you know, retrospect really helped with the recruiting aspect when I did get that position, because I knew the clubs, I knew the people, I had good relationships with, you know, a lot of the clubs in Southern California, or at least wasn't, you know, afraid to have conversations with the coaches and that kind of stuff. And I think as a younger coach, that's usually the holdup, because you can be a good player that transfers right away into college coaching. But if you can't hold a conversation, ask the important questions, and that kind of stuff, I think that really helped me. So to answer your question, both at the same time,
Okay.
You know.
And then UC Irvine went to the Sweet 16 while you were a coach there.
Yeah.
And
that was a
their
big year.
first time ever, right?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was a big year. And it was a really special team. You know, when you have a group of people together and you kind of just see the ups and downs of a season, and you kind of know when things are clicking as a coach, and you're like, okay, this could be, you don't want to get too excited, because it's like you're showing your cards early, but you want to just be like, all right, it's good. Yep, that was good. But you don't want to pay too much attention to it. But yeah, it was a really special group of girls, many of which that I still communicate with till today. And they recently just went back, I think it was this year, to the Elite Eight. I can't remember. I'm the worst. My life is Coco Melon, and that's about it right now. So, but yeah, they recently went back this year, and it sounds like it was another special season and special group of kids. So, yeah.
So when you were at Florida State, you went to 3 Final Fours, and that's expected.
It wasn't at the time. It wasn't at the time though. Okay. Yeah. At the time it was like, I think they were, you know, on the cusp of like always getting in, but I think they would always play like UF the first, like before I got there, they'd always like play UF the first round of the tournament or something like that. So, but yeah, no, and you're right. At UC Irvine, it was more of a mid-major. So it's really tough because you're competing with the UCLAs, the San Diego, the USDs, you know, and Berkeley and all that kind of stuff in the area, just to get out and play against other teams in other parts of the country. So yeah, that was a definite shift. I would say, just from how programs are run from one to the other.
Yeah. And that UF thing is even worse than the Miami thing in Tallahassee.
Yeah.
And so what I wanted to get from you is, what was the difference in your perspective, right? Because even though it may not have been expected when you got to Florida State, by the third time, it had to be expected, right? And then you take this underdog team in Irvine, who it's not expected, and you make it to the Sweet 16. What was the difference in the mindset during that time?
It's funny because, you know, the traits and the habits and the mindset of successful teams don't really vary, you know, it's the shifting of certain things. So like, even if at Florida State, it might've been expected, if we paid attention to that expectation versus pay attention to doing the work and doing the little things right, that was when things go wrong. Like, you have to focus on daily efforts versus like expectation or like your name or like the stigma associated with you, because it's like, if the same thing, like, you know, what Mark would say to us at Florida State, it's like, if you guys don't want to come and fit, that's you. When we start our season, you're going to be out of shape and other people that you guys are playing aren't. But the way he kind of made the environment was like it was a professional team, even when it wasn't a professional team. And so like when we were at UC Irvine, the coach that was there, Scott, and still there, Scott Juniper, again, another mentor of mine, you know, he had a very high standard. He had a really working, he had like a blue collar working mentality, and that really aligned with me, which is why I spent so much time there, because I got what he was doing. And not many coaches, I think, in soccer, like they miss, you know, walking the walk, talking the talk, they miss something along that line. And like with him, he held the girls accountable. As a team, we held each other accountable in that aspect when somebody wasn't doing their job. And just from a standpoint of doing extra fitness if you're not fit, and just caring more, I think like those are similar traits, even though the name, and there was a little bit more chip on the shoulder, you know, at UC Irvine, because it's like, you're so tired of UCLA all the time. You're so tired of all these Berkeley. So when you go to play, you know, like when we went to go to Berkeley to play and Alex Morgan was on the team, I've never seen like a bunch of girls work so hard to shut somebody down just for a tie, you know? And it's like, this is where people don't like soccer, because they're like, no one scored, it's 90 minutes. I'm like, you don't understand just what went into that. But so yeah, I mean, that was, again, similar traits and characteristics and habits, but definitely like, those are the little things that doesn't matter if you're a Florida State or UC Irvine, that you have to have present in order to be successful.
So I'm glad you answered that way, because that's what I wanted to transition to with. Now you move into CrossFit coaching, and you're not coaching elite athletes at the college level. You're teaching moms and military members and stuff at the gym. So then how does the mindset shift now that you're a coach at a CrossFit gym?
You know what? I think that's like, you know, in the geeky way of why I like to coach, it's because you're in the world of people. You're in the world of reading people, seeing where people are at, seeing where you think they can go, that they don't even think that they can go. And so it doesn't really matter if the environment is a competitive team or if the environment is a class of 10 or a class of 5, and it's a fireman, it's a mom, you know, it's a young student that's just, you know, graduating college like myself, like whatever, trying to get into CrossFit, someone that's out of shape, trying to drop, you know, 20 pounds. It doesn't really matter, because what you're doing is trying to read them, understand them, and teach them basic things that they need in life. You know, and I think that if coaching was about me, it would have been a harder transition, but because coaching has always been about the players or the person, it doesn't really matter, you know. At that point, it's finding people where they're at and trying to set the vision and the tone, and then show them those habits and bring them with you so that they can hit their goals, you know.
And you ended up managing that gym pretty soon after switching over to CrossFit and leaving the soccer world. What was that transition like for you?
That was a learning curve. That was called fake it till you make it. and I was okay with that, because I really did live at the gym. And, you know, at the time I didn't have a family, I wasn't dating anybody. So I was dating the gym. So I would be there, you know, we had about 200 and I want to say like 50 members at the time. And in Southern California, that's really good because there's gyms everywhere. You know, that's when CrossFit was like pumping, and just gyms like down the street. So, you know, it was a really special community. You know, the reason why I said yes was because that was a community that I found that kind of helped me during a tough time transitioning into, you know, in a place where I really didn't have family or friends, like to have family and friends that were your community. So I saw how impactful that was just only in my own journey from, you know, mental health, and just like, hey, having an adult conversation with somebody that helped you out, or like, hey, you have a flat tire. Oh, so-and-so's right there. They can help you out, instead of feeling like you're stranded on your own in a place that you don't know. So, so yeah, I mean, it was definitely a learning curve, but a lot of the tools at the end of the day was always about the people. So a lot of the tools, if you can lead with that, I may mess up on some other things and have to learn and shake that out, or not have all the answers in regards to how to set up Wodapalooza or whatever, like my biggest issues were when I first transferred over. But if you're putting the people first, making sure that you're showing up and that you're coaching, and the coaching of the gym could speak alone on that, then I think, like, for me, at least, that was what my goal was. And always finding fun ways to have the community come together, because at the end of the day, that's what people love. Yeah, they want to come in there and they want to get their first muscle up, but they also want to have an adult conversation with someone else, or kind of, just resonate with someone else, maybe if they're at a tough point in their life. So, that was the number one goal of that community. And then, yeah, so that was fake it till you make it, for sure. I wasn't acting like I was the boss at anything, but everyone knew kind of secretly I was the boss. So.
All right. So, so how long were you at that gym?
I was there about 2.5 years, I think. And then, shortly in that time, I met my now husband, and he was on the journey of being a fireman, and he was a little bit later on in life. And so, like, in Southern California, if you're 30, and that's like considered old to get into the fire service there, especially super competitive. So he originally is from Massachusetts. So he had applied, and kind of, we just talked about, like, all right, well, if I can get in there in New Hampshire, Massachusetts area, will you move there? And I was like, I don't even know what's over there. I don't even know where New Hampshire is on the map. So I was like, sure. Thinking, like, I don't know what's going to happen. Kind of like my life, manage the gym, go surf a little bit when I was done off work and then be done. But yeah, so he ended up getting the job. And so at that point I left that gym, and then we were soon expecting our first child. So I kind of kept my world of coaching to just coaching other people's gyms for them. And I kind of took the back seat, which was, in hindsight, a really good teacher of just everything, I would say. Like, for myself, not maybe stepping on people's toes and taking over their class, but being a participant in their class kind of just showed me, maybe where gyms were not doing so well, or what could be done better. And if I was coaching there, kind of bringing that to the table. So yeah, it gave me a little bit of a backseat to just go through the mom journey that I was on at that point, starting. And but I kept coaching through all 3 kids and stuff like that. So yeah, I kept myself busy.
So I want to talk about the mom journey, because you do a lot of stuff with 3 kids, and 2 boys, a girl.
Yeah.
How much did coaching prepare you for parenthood?
I don't know. It's all about, no. Definitely with my first child, like, I would just say, you think about, like, your mentally tough days, like, okay, I'm going, like, let me just flash back to Florida State. And you're like, oh my God, my backpack is so heavy. I have to walk all the way from the soccer, just finished soccer practice, walk away from the soccer all the way to, Bellamy or something on the other side of campus. And it's sweating. And I just finished practice. And now my t-shirt that was clean is now dripping in sweat and, like, humidity from Florida. And then you get there and you're late, and then you have to run back somewhere, whatever. So thinking about that day, right? And then you're thinking, well, okay, getting 3 kids in a car with all the crap and all the stuff. And then adding in New Hampshire, it's probably going to snow on you or something's going to happen. So you better move quick, because one of your babies is going to freeze. Like, I think it's more like the life of a student athlete has prepared me more for being a mom than, as well as coaching, but I definitely would say that you're again, it's a fake it till you make it job, parenting. It's the same as getting hired at a gym before I was ready to, but I knew that I had the skill set for people. I hope my babies like me at that point. So that's maybe what I was putting out there.
Yeah, you're speaking my language now, because I have 3 under 7. So
oh yeah, there you
I'm
go.
very familiar with, can we just get in the car? What are we doing here?
Well, I'm in Florida right now for the next, like, I've been here for a couple of weeks, just like working remotely, the perks, right? And then I'm coaching at my friend's gym to give her a break. And I'm like, shoes, no problem. Just get in the car. Let's go. Your buckle, don't you know how to put your own buckle on by now? Bodie, get Maverick's buckle on. I'm just laughing, because in New Hampshire, you can't do that. They're freezing. And I'm like, right. Oh God, the boots, the jacket, just so you get in the car, take the jacket back off, or they want to keep the jacket on and you have to figure out how to buckle it.
Yep.
So I don't know, but yes.
Well, as we record this, Charlie and I are in Columbus, Ohio, and it is like 17 degrees.
Of course. Yeah.
My
husband
I think the window's open behind you, which is very, very
The sun is coming in. Listen,
Yeah.
I'm soaking in all 2 weeks. I'm going to get a nice tan just by being outside, not even laying at the beach, just with outside my kids. And I'm going to enjoy working out and actually sweating. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to freeze till about May. And then the sun will come back out in June. And that's it.
Yeah. So are you going, so you're going to Wodapalooza?
Yeah. So I'll be there. I'm competing actually at Wodapalooza. This will be the first time I'm competing not pregnant, which is great because I did it when I was pregnant with my first child before I realized I was pregnant. So I was about like 6 weeks pregnant. And then I did it with my daughter. I knew I was pregnant, but I already paid and I already bought my plane ticket and I was 10 weeks pregnant. And I was like, please God, let's just go with this. Cause at the time you coach, your body so well and you work out on a daily basis. So at that point I felt really good. No issues whatsoever. I had a little bit of a scare, I think at the end of the first day of the competition. And then I just dropped out at that point because it wasn't worth it. So spending a little time in Miami hospital was all I needed just to get out of there, but that was fun. But yeah, so this will be the first year that I'm doing it not pregnant. So I'm excited.
So I'm assuming you worked out through all of your pregnancies.
I did. I would definitely say like the second and third, or at least my last one, because at the same time, like I was opening up a gym with a friend. So I was helping them facilitate a whole new facility for fitness, tennis, CrossFit, Group X, everything like that. So I was exhausted. So sometimes most of the times I kind of took a bigger break, I would say, with my last child. Because we weren't expecting our last child, and but he's by far the best, of course, we'll say that now. He's a maniac, but he's the best. So like, at that point I was ready to try to compete again. And then I was like, oh, okay, here we go. Cause it was three kids in 5 years. So now that it's like, finally, I think on the other side of it, I was like, all right, we can do this, but yeah.
Did you notice a difference with the deliveries when you did work out and when you had to take a longer break?
All of my kids liked to just stay in my stomach because I never had any of my children naturally. I always had to be induced because it was like 10, 15 days later. And I'm like, all right, anytime you want to come out, like, this is great. But my daughter, especially, it was super hot end of August. And I'm like, anyone, and like, you try everything, it doesn't matter. So, patience, patience. So when you have that client that you coach that is driving you insane because they're not listening during class or something, that's what coaching has taught me for parenting, or maybe it's parenting that has taught me for coaching, a greater level of patience. Because waiting to have a child like 15 days afterwards is like, it's awesome, but it's terrible at the same time.
Charlie, did you have something?
Oh, I was just going to say, you're just going to miss that pregnancy strength now that because my wife would always say she was so much stronger when she was pregnant. And I don't know
it's funny because I think it was right before, I didn't know I was pregnant with our last child, and I hit like a PR for a power clean easy. And I was like, oh, that was weird. And it was like a week later I found out. And then I'm like, oh, I'm 9 weeks pregnant. You're like, oh, great. That's good. Like, okay. And I'm like, I'm not letting anybody take that PR for me. Don't tell anybody. I wasn't pregnant then. That was mine. Yeah, you get that extra jolt of testosterone. And it's like, I had a battle with one of my personal training clients at this gym, actually, when I was in Florida coaching. And he's someone that would get, I need my testosterone shots on a biweekly basis because, whatever his reasoning was, he had low testosterone. And I was like, I bet you your testosterone is still higher than mine. He goes, I don't know. I'm like, I bet you it is. And he's like, we laugh because I ended up getting blood work done recently. And I go, I have low testosterone, just so you know. So you're still winning. So I don't want to hear any excuses. He would always give me crap. He's like, you get me on my low T days and you make me do these things. And I'm like, listen, I bet you'll be okay. Just listen to me. But yeah, I know the pregnancy strength is real. I'm going to admit it. It's fine.
So at Wodapalooza, what division are you competing in?
I'm doing masters because I'm now a masters. I qualified for RX and masters, but I'm going to acknowledge the fact that I'm older. I'm 36. So we're going to go for it.
Yeah, I'm much older than that, so you're good to go. But I'm going to be in Wodapalooza next week.
Good. So you get some sunshine.
Yeah. I cannot wait. After the snow came last night and the cold this morning, I cannot wait to land in Miami next week.
Because it's like, instead of that gust of like freezing wind that goes right under your jacket, now you just get like the gust of humidity.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome.
Good.
And
Good
so
for-
I want to talk to you about how you found Underdogs, or how Underdogs found you.
Cool. Yeah, for sure. So this last year we moved away from New Hampshire and moved down to Florida for a little bit. My husband had a midlife crisis, and if he tries to deny that, I would not, but it's okay. So we moved down here. My family's still here. I wasn't mad about it. I was ready, I think, for just a change or a refocus. And so I was down here kind of like, all right, what avenue do I want to go and take, and how do I want to navigate coaching down here? Just because there's a lot of gyms, and I think finding somebody that's, again, trustworthy, that you want to be around, that's going to make you a better person, that's going to at least put you in an environment where you can learn things, you know what I'm trying to say. So one of the girls that that played at Florida State right after me, so she was a freshman when I was a senior, we met and we played at the same club team down here in Florida. She owns 2 different gyms down in South Florida. And I just reached out to her. I was like, listen, what do you need? Like, do you need some help? Because I was like, if I can help you in any way, I'd like to. And then just kind of, anyways, got into helping her. And at the same time, I kind of got remotivated to go back into my own fitness journey of like acknowledging the fact that I'm a competitive person in this aspect, and that I enjoy it, because I think it helps me not only with accomplishing my goals, but helping other people's accomplish their goals when I hold myself accountable with certain things. So I wasn't really training, I would say, hardcore, and then did the open, qualified for quarterfinals, and like was very close to making it to the games in my age group without really training or trying. So at the time I was like, man, I think for the first time in my life, I want to be coached, or at least have someone else do programming for me, just so I don't have to think about it. And I had seen an interview with Justin. I think it was like, I can't remember if it was right before West Coast or right after. Cause again, I watch Coco Melon. I don't watch CrossFit Games. I watch Coco Melon. So, and it was just how he was speaking about his athletes and just what his vision was. I was like, all right. Didn't know he was a fan at the time, but I was like, all right, I'm going to reach out about programming. And so I started doing programming from him, which just helped my life, because when you coach all the time, it's like you're doing it for everybody else. But like when you go to do it for yourself, the person that you're supposed to know the best, it takes forever, because you're like, whatever. So it's just nice from that aspect with kids and just coaching so much to have somebody doing it for you. And then, I was doing it. And then my friend that just moved to Vegas again to be part of the Underdogs, she was like, they're hiring, like you should reach out to them. And then I was like, okay, cool. I reached out to Justin. We had a good first interview and just kind of chat and stuff like that. And then I got brought on. So I was super excited, because I knew that like my goals with coaching aligned with his philosophy. And I think when you can find that and know that it's, his biggest thing that he always says is like, I never want to get so big where I don't know the people that are doing my programming, and then I don't know my coaches. Like, that really resonates with me, because I think that it's one of those things where it's like, you have to understand that CrossFit is so much bigger than just that, like that pinnacle of like your games. Like what legacy are you leaving? Like, who are you influencing? Who are you impacting at every level? Not just like your competitive athletes, but like your coaches, and then the people that, are helping to fund your business, right? This is your business, and, but you're doing so much for them as far as the programming goes, but like just taking that time and taking that second to have that conversation. So yeah, I really enjoyed meeting him, and just talking with him, and it felt very, informal, and just a lot of the stuff that he said really aligned with my core values. So yeah, it was really good. Both of them are awesome, Justin and Nash. So yeah.
And as we talked before we went on the air, you haven't even met Ashley in person yet.
No, we haven't met. So I think I'll see them both at Wodapalooza, or I'll see Justin at Wodapalooza. I don't know if Ashley can escape, but yeah.
Yeah. So there's 2 paths I want to go. I'm trying to figure out how I want to do this. So first of all, what is your role with Underdogs? You're just, are you a coach?
Yeah.
Remote
So I'm
coach.
one of the remote coaches, and, you know, I help with masters, the programming, just making adjustments with some of that to make it more functional for masters athletes at every category. So yeah, so I have about, you know, 6 or 7 clients right now. And then just helping out with administrative stuff.
So you talk about the master's track that you just came out with?
Yeah, so I help Kiefer's also part of it with the programming. So I help Kiefer do some of the tweaks with that and adjust it, and then I do the remote coaching with the athletes, with competitive athletes.
Yeah, my man Charlie is very interested in master's track. You know, as we're getting into those elevated ages, our bodies can't do the RX of the
compete track.
Well, it's kind of like, I was laughing because I was trying, like, you know, Kiefer's a little bit younger than me. So I was like, you know, Kiefer, like front squat, back squat, too much in 1 week for my hips sometimes. Like, can we do one? Can we just like maybe get some back squats out there? Cause I care about my clean. So maybe just keep the front squats. So I'm like, don't worry, you'll get it one day. You'll get it. Or maybe it's with 3 kids. I don't know, but I know that other people have to feel that way too, you know, because it's like, I think sometimes as a competitive athlete, like, especially as you get a little bit older, you look out there and there's other, you know, other people's programmings where it's like, oh man, you got to do this, then you have a second session. And I'm like, I need 90 minutes, 2 hours max. What do you have for me? What do I need to do? Because you can look at it and be like, oh, I have this. And then you feel overwhelmed, and then you feel like you're failing before you even start. And it's like, that should never be the purpose of, even if you want to compete just so you can do a local competition, like, it should never make you feel that you're not good enough before you even start, you know? So yeah, I mean, I know that feeling on the opposite side of things. So it's like, all right, trying to create a simplified track for people. I think, you know, Kiefer does a good job of it. Justin does a good job of it for our masters. And just for the competitive athlete, just the competitive track that's in there too.
I think we found your problem, Charlie. You've just been overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed.
You've been overwhelmed. And so you exercise at competitions.
That's it. It's too much. Overwhelmed from the start. It's like, if I don't have time for both those sessions, I'm just not going to do either session.
And just show up at the comp cold.
Right. That's how I feel about mobility.
Oh man.
I got to do the left and the right side. Well, what?
If only my right side's bothering me. Is it bad if I just do my right side? Do I have to do both?
So the last thing I want to talk about is in researching you, faith seems to be a very important part in your life. And at one time, and maybe still, you were a Faith RX coach.
Yeah, back up in when I was in New Hampshire the first time around. Yeah.
And so you have gone, your journey through life has gone many different directions and paths and ways. And how has faith helped you through those moments? And do you feel that like God has led you down this path?
I definitely, like, when you think about, you know, or at least for me, you know, knowing my identity with God involved in it is a huge thing. So it's like, I understand how simple my life has become once I've realized that, because there's lots of things in the world that are distractions, and there's lots of things that people chase down that are distractions. Or things that the world is telling you that aren't from God. And like, for me, it's like always checking myself, like, is this my own desire, or is this like what God has called me to be? And I know for me, like, my number one thing is that I love people, and I love communicating, making people feel seen, heard, and appreciated. And I think in the sport that we're in with CrossFit, there's so many distractions. And I think that there's a purity in the fact of, you know, coaching people of all types, not just the ones that are going to be the next Brooke Wells or whoever, you know, it's so much more than that. And I do believe that common people can do, you know, extraordinary things. And I think that that's like I think with, you know, with Underdogs, that's a huge reminder, you know, because, you know, you just see, like, you know, what Justin is able to create with certain things. And so for me, like, again, finding somebody that aligns with your values and kind of the vision, it's, for me, you know, who I am as a coach, I feel like really fits with them. But in regards to faith and just kind of like my role with Faith RX, like, there's so many similarities between what we do within CrossFit and just physical sport in general, and, you know, and the world of God, and just like having a relationship with him, and stuff like that. So yeah, it's, for me, it's kind of like I coach, like coaching is synonymous with my faith. I don't think it's one or the other. I think it's both at the same time. So it's not like I'm coaching you to, change your faith to something else, but I'm coaching you because God has placed in my heart who it is that I am, what it is that I'm supposed to be, and that he's supposed to be able to shine through me by how I speak to you, by how I make someone feel, and just by the genuine goodness. So I think especially at a time like the world we live in now, revisiting some of the most basic things in life are very key, and just being a good person is one of those things, because there are a lot of distractions that I think, whether or not people realize it, make them a little bit more angry, a little bit more on edge, a little bit more anxious. And, you know, you never know what people are going through. So finding ways to simplify it and just bring goodness back to it is what I'm about as a coach, and, you know, and just as a person. So.
Yeah, I've coached CrossFit before. I've coached other sports, and I think it gives you the tools to be able to share in the good news of what God has done. And and looking back, like God put that in place, right? He gave me the job as a coach to be able to do that. And then he gave me this vehicle to be able to share the good news when it's appropriate. And so I love to talk to them. And so thank you for sharing.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Well, I want to say, this has been a really fun conversation. I'd love to tour Tallahassee with you sometime, and see what all has changed.
We can do what is like, we'll camera on our head, looking at each other while we walk around going, oh, that's not there anymore. Yeah. Where's poor Paul's? Where's the palace?
So it's been a joy doing this, and thank you for jumping on with us, and good luck next week at Wodapalooza. And I'll try to get down and root you on a little bit.
Thank you guys so much. Stay safe. You'll stay warm. You stay warm. Same kids.
Yeah. And we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much.